This is so great. Yeah, exactly. So this is the puppies with my most incredible, awesome, daughter-like friend, pet nanny. That's a new title. It's the amazing Lexy. Like Henrietta said, she has the best job in the world. But trust me, the good fortune that Lexy was brought into our lives has been incredible, especially now because I wasn't sure I was going to say it, and look at me, Lexi. I'm launching in the first 30 seconds. But so first, I'll talk about Lexi, Luke, and not Luke. He's now called Finn, which is also a Star Wars theme, which is so sweet of Dell and Kat for naming him that, and little Leia, and they're 8 weeks old. And I got to check my shot protocol because I follow the minimal vaccine protocol, and I've had great results with that. I've never had a problem. We rarely ever vaccinate for Bordetella, and again, this is my first worm case in ever. I've never had worms. It's again in my 8th litter of Staffords. I figured out the other day, I think is my 8th litter. I keep getting confused, 7 or 8, and 2 weren't here. Well, these 2 and my other with my friend Charlie. Their mom actually was whelped elsewhere, and I got her and one other puppy from that litter. So anyway, here they are. They're doing great. They're frisky, wouldn't you say, Lexi?
Yes.
And we took first stack photos today, although Lexi and I did get them on the table about a week ago. They're absolute naturals. The last litter was gorgeous structure, but they were a little more nervous on the table. Very amazing, the difference. It's like, I think it's kind of like with a lot of siblings, like I was saying on the video the other day, that puppies get more mellow, just like with human siblings. And these guys are just a lot more fiery. And it's really independent. It's really interesting, I'm going to say here, because just like with humans, what I notice with these puppies is it's sexist for me to say this, and it's not always true. And I love Dell's quote about the fact that we're participating in kind of what we call normal. And obviously, I do agree with that. But so what's been socialized to be normal is girls being a lot more independent, at least in my day for sure, and my own daughters for sure, and boys being the clingy, sort of close to mom and the parents. And this little guy, Finn, he wants nothing, right, Lexi, but to be with you every 30 seconds, whereas you let him out in the yard. And they both stick with us pretty great. They're both doing, wouldn't you say, the duck imprinting thing phenomenal, Lexi? But this little girl, Leia, is on, just like Princess Leia. Definitely Ray Ray is the name I could have used to call her. You know what? My flashlight's on, too. I better turn it off while we're doing, or is it just a flash on the maybe video? Yeah. Anyway, little Leia is way more independent. So I noticed that is like humans is also with these puppies. But anyway, yeah, they're doing amazing. And Lexi and I were both saying how we did our rich kids enrichment protocol better than any with that last litter. Their one adverse childhood reaction was when I put the slip lead on to give them a bath, and some of them haven't quite recovered, but most of them are no problem. And these guys have probably had, in my opinion, way more adverse childhood worms and making a giant journey, just like Luke and Leia, Finn and Leia, at early age and doing great. But anyway, I'll wrap this up in a minute to say these puppies are doing phenomenal, and thanks to Lexi, I'm doing okay. But my life, which is way more than dogs, believe it or not, but it's now 24/7 dogs because we've had some disharmony in the pack, and it's real sad. I talked the other video about Al putting the plate of food down incredibly stupidly, which I'm going to add in right now, even with Lexi laughing and Al quietly in the distance. But anyway, we know it's true. No one would do that. It's dumb, and it caused that. So then the next morning, Al was trying to do a nice thing by letting the dogs out, and he even said that he noticed amped up energy. So I don't know if it's related. My guess is it is. Very few things are coincidental. Maybe they just felt the tension from the issue, but Obi stayed out of every fight. He is the least dog aggressive dog we know. And here I have 2 unneutered males. I always said I'm humble about it, and I never know because it's not really natural. But I've known people to do it as well. And what happened is they got in a fight, and I was sound asleep. I wasn't even awake. And so luckily Al was able to break them apart, but they both ended up at the vet. So now we're literally $3,000 into vet bills between Shaq's stuff, and Obi needed a stitch. Obi ended up getting the worst of it. And Lexi and I today, thank God, just took him on a walk for the first time. They're definitely not as easy to get back together as the girls were, where you can see no ill will, no hatred, no nothing. But I'm worried because of the competitive factor. And so I'm just saying that now, and it's even entered my head to consider, would I place Obi, like especially if my daughter gets settled in her life, because she's always wanted a Doberman, and that could be a great move just to, my answer to that, and Lexy and I talked about this, would be never, if I weren't living with someone who wouldn't be taking that as seriously, and the idea that you do need to monitor energy and all of that. And so I'm kind of fighting a little bit of a losing battle if your other household members can't. It's not that Al wouldn't do what I say, but he can't remember it, and he also doesn't innately see it or necessarily even believe it. So anyway, I've had a lot of trauma and trouble and focus lately. And I even had, Lexy, I didn't tell you, but I decided to cut the dog show down, which we think is going on for 3 days in December, to only 2. And it kills me to do that because Asher's doing so great. Oh, and that's the part of this video I didn't even mention, but my little best in show dog had a giantly swollen face and multiple wounds, and it's already going down, but when you look at how close I was to losing the opportunity to ever even show him again, that's pretty terrifying. Not as terrifying as almost losing Shaq's life, but it's still terrifying because I love showing. And Asher is amazingly doing incredible. He's literally had 2 best in shows owner handled, and most people I know, even with great dogs, don't even have 1. So I'm really proud.
It's because he loves it as much as you do.
Exactly, he loves it. And look at this little guy, Lexy. Get him, like this little boy that Del and Kat are getting here, Mr. Finn. And thank you, Del and Kat, again for your willingness to show and train him. It's no problem with me showing him, and we'll finish his championship early if he stays like this. Never can promise that, and I always want to be sure. And they weren't gung-ho anyway. They could have done scent work. She's still doing all that with him, but they're willing to definitely get the championship with me by training him, and they'll enter him in the shows, and then I'll get his championship, and they'll have a champion and well-trained dog and potential real contributor stud, because God, he's a beauty. Oh, and look at him, he fire up. He gonna fire up. Look at him. Asher did that when he was young too, and now towards people, Asher is just angelic. Are you scratching there, little tinkies? We better check.
Because you put the leash on her today.
Oh yeah, and
She
also
always does that.
Lexy gave him a bath today too. We'll get some cute pictures on that. Anyway, oh good, but now I'm getting some good footage. It's funny because it's true that I talk so much on there, but it's nice to just get the pictures of them too. You want to hold each of them up on, and I'll get a good real look at. We took some stacked photos, and Lexy even wears those cool hats to help them get used to. Look at this fireball. Hello, fireball. And might I add again, before I get knocked down several notches from not being humble, but first of all, he's gorgeous. I love his markings, but look at the ears. I mean, the ears, I was worried when I first saw him. Yeah, and I haven't even glued them or touched them, and they're perfect, but let's put her up for a minute before she eats your phone anyway. And look, and I'll show her. Look at these. When I saw these fortunate ears, I thought, how could anybody get better? But look, now his are almost balancing out even more because his head's growing more. Yeah. So, but I love her look because she's like Nala from The Lion King. That color, really isn't she? And she's regal too. And they both have dark round eyes and very waggy tails. And she loves Lexy. She does. She's a little sweet angel. Got a couple of people that we're considering for big site being with tomorrow, and I think the big thing with her too is I would really like to have left open the show possibility. That's kind of what you're in it for a little bit, but as I've said before, I could consider breeding my first female without a championship. It's not impossible if the dog has all the merits. Look at him grab her skin too. All right, anyway, that's enough talking for now. I'm gonna go. Bye-bye.